Still standing for the chair of the Building Council.
Good evening, everybody. I'm very grateful to Councillor Evans, who is going to do prayer before we start our call. Let us pray. We pray for this council meeting tonight, and we ask for wisdom, guidance, and understanding as we deliberate on items before us, particularly as we discuss the budget proposal. May all our decisions be right for the benefit of Lichfield District Council residents. Grant us clarity of thought and open our hearts to listen to one another with respect and empathy, and the humility to value each person's perspective. Amen. Everybody have item one is practices.
Apologies have been received in place of Marshall walking in his White House group.
Okay. Really good. They jump the train, come on, and then go back there and they said, we will hopefully arrive later. Thank you very much. Agenda item 2, then are there any declarations of interest? Item 3 is the minutes of the last meeting. I move that the minutes of the last meeting be approved as correct. It was the 10th of December 2024, be a correct report. There was about today, so I take it that the minutes are approved. So I've got it. The next item is Chair's announcement. Been a rather quiet time for and myself, but we've been to some interesting and pleasurable events. I think the only one I would like to highlight is the one at Burnwood Spark, which was produced by Lichfield Arts, sponsored by the district council there. The money was clearly being well spent. It's also my sad duty to requesting a minute silence and comments in memory of the recently deceased councillor Rob Campbell. As a member of the chain gang, I also do want to mention briefly that the mayor of Newcastle under Lyme, Councillor Barry Painter, was killed in a road accident a couple of weeks ago. Because I've been on chain where for 2 years I've had quite a lot to do with Barry, who was a veteran of the RAF, a former policeman, and had been a councillor in Heads since 2016. So I'd like to associate his with good wishes to his family and condolences on our behalf. Thank you. But I'd like to now ask people, councillors, have a minute's silence in memory of their Rob Campbell. Thank you very much. Thank you. I'd say,
I've been on for many years as we served at District and Town Council, and he was my deputy on the town council. Rod was such a kind, passionate, and caring person, and he was always great support and help to me. He was a man of integrity who treated all he met with respect, was a good listener, and he was passionate about supporting the residents of Birdport. Many years he was also a member of Cambridge Parish Council and the school governor at Birmingham School. But above all, he took great delight in talking about how proud he was of his family, his daughters and his grandchildren, and of course his wife. He was a real man of the people. Everybody thought he was wonderful. He was dedicated to the community, and he consequently made great difference to so many people's lives. He's certainly been missed by me and by a lot of people, the person that he was.
Yeah, thank you very much. Because
Thank you. Thank you, Chair. If the council served on the council in 2007, 2011, that was well before mine and while I was in this authority, I did know Rod over at Parish Council. I think Rod was a man of stature for anyone who met him both physically and in character. He was the absolute best of the local government, in that he didn't wear his party badge proud, he didn't wear the badge proud, and he was wonderfully real, very pragmatic, very proper about all the work that he did as a council. I'm not very young. You do that thing, Facebook state on it really changes. Very early in my day, if I could frown or stand or I'm angry or being nasty to anybody, then I was going to cripple, I'm now, I'm not made you can be extra weight. But the one thing I also thought I wanted to do, and failed, obviously, is to be a good chap all through my life and not think bad thoughts about people. You know, all I can say, that's what he did right hand. He was good, he was conscientious, and he was kind. His work was involving children's books, publication, and he was also chair of the town council, in 2012 for the Paralympics with the Paralympic torch, the one of the volunteers in our area with that. And that's the thing about it, what you can say, say what you can say. It's a different kind of that's the thing that stood out. I'm going to achieve that, but I think that might be that few people in this town that may be able to live with that. Thank you.
Thank you, Sharon. I want to ask Rob. And all I can tell you, sugar, attention. And that's how our laws and then well, and all the comes around we have. That's it. Thank you.
thank you very much. Now then to agenda item by report of the leader.
Thank you very much, Chair. It's my pleasure to be able to move this report, which reflects the cabinet decision of the bank company on 11th February and also cabinet member decision. I'll take them one by one. First, the committee infrastructure levy, still allocation. Five.
Councillor Norman then.
Thank you, Chair. Section 1.1 there, the 1,152,110 £110 to establish a stone contract ICB, the delivery of the vehicle potential development. The planning application went in originally in 2008, and then a few years. And then it was up by the coalition government at the time, 2011, tried again, 3 more years, and then it's a temporary contribution. 2014 for 5 years, and now 2019 for another 5 years. And it should be demolished at the moment, not being used, quite like but my question really is around referring to the mid 59 of my overcomplaint, however it should be committee in on 16th of March 2023. This is a word from the ITV. Confirmed that they had worked with colleagues to establish the County Council and had open agreement that a new building north at Cherry Close would get an operational from 2025. The advisors were confident that the plan was sound, that they had engaged with all the relevant parties, and the existing local authorities have confirmed that based on the existing patients with the intent that the new facility at Cherry Close will be open in 2025. I appreciate my understanding is the application has come forward, decided. And I just wondered whether the Tillman Institute were actually in the plan originally for late development. And when is it likely to be open in 2025? By the fact that my legal calculation. Yes. Yes, thank you, Chair. Not so much a question as that. I just wanted to applaud the Cabinet decision to invest some of this money in the parishes across the district, and in doing so meeting at least in part one of the Labour Party's election promises from the last election period. I hope that he can stop the clock with that twice a day, Chair. And he wants to take on your all that does is follow quite accurately that whilst some of our emissions did that and the government gets the different emissions like today, actually quite the loss of our emissions was the state underground. And yes, in talk about investing in Councillor Norman, we're absolutely delighted to be able to put over £1 million to actually establish very positively in this centre. Clearly, you will know that that's highly outside of our remit, not within our timeline, but I'm glad that we're able to invest over £1 million in within that health centre. And if there is somebody who can ask that question, I'm sure.
Oh, yes, that's question one.
Thank you very much. Item number 2 is our debt recovery policy. Item number 3 is our empty segment policy.
Councillor Ray.
Thank you, Chair. I just want to say I support this policy. As you know, in our country and in our local community here in the district, we have a housing crisis. Housing associations are a key part of solving that, but also bringing back empty homes is an important part of that strategy as well. The report which went to Cabinet highlights some really shocking statistics: 500 families on our housing register, 161 second homes, and 126 empty homes in our district. And I hope homeowners of those properties in the district will see this proactive and take steps and bring these properties back into use or at least sell them. I just asked the leader, could you just reassure her that there will be sufficient resource put behind policies so that we can try and balance the property owners and bring these properties back in the market or to sell them. Thank you.
Yeah, I just wanted to obviously well. These, I believe, you know, also the children of this policy, thanks to actually for all the properties that are entering compulsory purchase, and I would like to do that to get those properties, especially on the H2A line, which is not at this moment on the government. We'll be waiting to see. Let's get those houses.
How do you expect that?
I'm only very pleased here, to really look at the way that there is, a whole absolute force in the handling. Kevin, the court has taken the word to point out that the key targets there's being, businesses or people who are seeking properties that could better be used to have people who are less community and foundation. I was going to reassure the council that we will be taking out a passionate and sensible review of what we can, where there are very structured and probate for genuinely required for business reasons. Just to remind the council of this whole thing, we've got one of the that's the working that is part of the paper, item number 4 is going on. Yeah, it's only got that's a big mistake. Item number 5, calculate business rate 25.6. And then we move chair on to calendar decision. Item 6, enforcement.
Thank you, Chair. In relation to car park enforcement, have you been approached by members of the programs for van parking in the gateway to the park causing danger to children and to the park, and also consistent parking on all the other lines of the Water Street ground? Is there a way of parking enforcement can travel to the wider regions of Burnwood to ensure that everyone's safe?
Thank you, Councillor Galvin. And I think you brilliantly illuminate the challenge of having parking enforcement in that our car parking enforcement procurement process goes through the individuals who own car parks, so off-street car parking, so third street, multi-storey, etc. What Woolwich County is not responsible for is even for example, payment principle in line. Police matter, in terms of bragging, you can car park very well. And therefore, how much pressure council maintaining that car park. It is a challenge that we discussed a number of times, but formulating how we manage to unify our car parking approach across all the tiers. It's frankly not good enough for our residents when we say we can enforce car parking here, we can't enforce it 3 metres high, and we can join the approach, not only say taxpayer, but it also be good. That's a plan. And that's from the right. Well, that might be a carry on. Item number 7 is concerned regarding the new plan. Congratulations. So, well, I think next year says it will be available for a number very similar to next year. Number 8, amendments to street trading consent process. Number 9, enforcement policy. Number 10, purchase of temporary accommodation units for households. So we get helpful questions for What's the change? Brilliant. Number 11, temporary agency staff contract extension. Number 12, number 13, the giving scheme. Number 14, and 15, tax costs. Go on, councillor.
Thank you. Yeah, I just want to also speak another time before about taxing policy in this chamber, because it's a really important service for our community. And I just want to thank really the officers and the members of the regulatory licensing team that have been responsible for taking this forward. It's a really step forward. Just for the members who haven't read the policy, just one example of it is that if you're a driver with a new EV or hybrid vehicle, at the moment, it has to have a maximum 5 years life. And now that is going to be 10 years life. So that means our drivers can invest in new vehicles, spend a longer time to recoup them, which improves the service, and also should have a positive impact on our environment if we're encouraging more EV and hybrid vehicles. So I just want to thank you. This policy, which is launching very shortly, to bring a better service and have a positive impact on our local environment. Thanks.
Thank you, Chair. That is my point. Welcome.
Very much. We can move on now to agenda item 6, the minutes of 2 meetings, the opening scrutiny. So I'll call on councillor.
Yeah, you've very well content minutes that got the item on the agenda. Sorry. Thank you, Chair. I moved the proceeding for the meeting out on the 2nd of December 2024 on the 28th of January 2025. Previously. Yeah. The 2nd of December, meeting was 32 apologies, 33 declarations of interest, 34 minutes of the previous meeting. There's a problem with pronouncing Hill wrong, 35 health matters. I would just draw attention to my second bullet point in the report I was saying, which is the concern of 56% establishment being trade being outstanding, without that 44% requiring improvements or inadequate and needed improvement. There is problem for the Care Quality Commission and the bodies really penalty. Minute number 36, notes from class group. 37, quite a long one there. And we're starting with that body point about number on them. Okay, 38 is for district youth council, and I think this all members that it's actually on schedule, so hopefully they'll have a report in April there, and I think it'll be a positive report. 39 social value guidance policy. 40 community safety partnership, and 41 the work program. That was the minute of the December meeting. The 28th of January, apologies, 42, 43 declaration of interest, 44 minutes from the previous meetings, 45 health matters, 46 notes from tax group, 47 electoral community involvement, 48 medium term financial strategy, and last item was item 29, which is a big work program. That's how I do it. Okay.
Wasn't meetings, we maybe for the 2nd of January.
Can I take these minutes and receive them? Agenda item 7 is minutes of the employment committee. For the mayor.
Thank you, Chair. I move to proceed these meetings.
So we can take them page by page. Routine matters then basically. Any comments? Any or we can take those minutes as, when we take those minutes as received and adopted. We've now got, I think, two sets of minutes for the planning. Regarding made, can I call them cancelled?
Thank you, Chair. I move that considering that the minutes held on the 8th of January, 2025 and the 3rd of February 2025 be received and where necessary approved.
For a second, minute.
I say second.
Yeah. One second. Right, there's one was, any comments on that week on the 8th of January and then 3rd of February, there's standard Bradley, and so item 9 is the minutes of the audit committee. I have 4, that's the 4 today.
Thank you, Chair. Classic one. Thank you, Chair. I move that the proceedings of the audit committee meeting held on the 6th of February 2025 be received and where necessary approved and adopted.
And then go through those, routine matters, rising, then risk work program, risk. Sorry, Councillor Elliott.
Thank you very much. Just in reference to item 38, it does make me a little uneasy when I read statements like could avoid the need for political appointments, or especially putting forward as fully owned by this council. The option for us to have a shareholders committee, that was a good idea, and oversight is always a good idea. It does feel reading this like it's a committee that's been set up to avoid more representation from this council on the board. And how it reads. If we do decide that we are going to discuss this in the review and we are going to go down these lines, then to follow that avoidance of political appointments, does that mean that the current political appointment on the board will be removed and replaced? If not, then there's a political appointment already on there. So I just want to be careful with review being done, that actually don't need to review the board. I think we've mentioned this in full council, we've mentioned this in audit, mentioned here that the recommendations were discussed in previous meetings. I don't know why the concept feels like an aversion to another board member, but board member, but it feels like reading that that's what this is about. So I'm supportive of the shareholders committee, but I just want to be careful on how we do this and that it is true that.
Yes, Jack. I just wanted to ask on the last sentence there, which is really following on from what Councillor Anderson just said about the shape of the company. And it says could be considered. Can we be asked for clarification on could, please?
So council putting on the primary or however Taylor respond.
Thank you, Chair. So yes, these are all coulds, these are options available to the council, and it will come up as part of our review of our duty. So when we look at constitution and we consider how we manage our trading entities. One of the options is to have a shareholders board. We can decide how that is made up. And then that would advise the boards of the trading entities. It could be that there is no political appointment therefore to the board. So the current political appointment would effectively be on the board, leaving the board to be run by officers and non-executive directors. These are all options that are available to us to discuss when we review. Nothing is set in stone. It's just an option.
Thank you very much. So currently I'm doing it. Bottom of the page is explaining the risk management update, and it's the strategy, treasury management. And it's internal audit. Any more questions?
Can I add something there?
Yeah.
So I have in the committee, sorry, Chair, in the committee, we did ask officers whether they could make a public clarification on the position of the New World Trading Company following its CDA and the actions taken by council to minimise the risk of the money that they're investing. And you'll give me from reading my statement. But that's yes, age. All large commercial operators will review their portfolio on an ongoing basis to identify underperforming assets. Once underperforming assets have been identified, they will either look to improve them or close them, which appears to be the case with the botanist operations. The botanist has issued an update which is available on the website. On their website, and this provides more information on their future plans. We have taken specific legal advice from Powers and Hanlon to manage the financial risk related to our 1.7 million investment. They advise the agreement is based on bullet point 1, the ability to terminate the conditions have not been satisfied 12 months from the date of agreement, or the condition has not occurred before 24 months from the date. Bullet point 2, the 1.7 million is paid to the LLP and payments to the botanist are based on 3 tranches. The first is based on the commencement of the works, the second is based on evidence of work of more than £1 million being completed, and the third is based on the completion of the works and the present development of an active from the premises as a restaurant to the public. We have not sought specific financial standing information on ideas with companies because the financial stroke reputational risk will be mitigated through the contracts between the LLP and Everman and botanist that have been drafted by the council, legal advisors, Travers and Hanlon. Thank you.
Item number 10 is the minutes of the regulation licensing.
I exercised tonight. The proceedings of the regulatory licensing committee meeting held on the 30th of January 2025 be received and where necessary approved and adopted.
We go through them quickly page by page, paying the licenses. And the work program. Okay, so can we take those minutes as received and adopted? Thank you. The next one, which I was told might be controversial, is the calendar of the meeting.
Always enough to take on body. The wording it is, I move the calendar of meetings.
Is that proposal second? Yeah. Right. So have we, policy debate, is there going to be any debate? Okay, those in favour? Anyone against? Any extension?
I can explain if you want.
So. To item 12, the medium term financial strategy. And I have to remind members that in accordance with section 106 of the Local Government Act, the Government Finance Act 1992, that any member in council tax arrears is unable to participate in the debate of decision making in relation to the budget and council tax setting. And I think we were almost convinced that that was, nobody was in arrears. We believe nobody is in arrears. I'm allowed to call on. Before we start.
Thank you, Chair. Glad to hear the news from the radio, by the way. I'm also delighted to formally move that not reading that financial revenue. Before I start my formal observation, I place on record my sincere thanks to Anthony and the finance team, to Mark and the government team at both Climate and Executive, who have provided valuable and vital as we move to preparation of this budget, and also those who picked me up to the numerous questions of confidence for preparing this decision. As has become my custom, I'll start with context. We've seen a change in government. Last time I stood here and proposed for the strategy, however, I'm afraid to say the new government are not quite in the new room as some may have expected. Members will know that I am no apologist for central government of whatever colour. But the handling of the local government finance settlement in the context of the Alden budget and the wider concept of local government reorganisation has quite frankly been woeful. Indeed, Chair, to suggest that this government is either unaware of the benefits of a well-run district council can deliver in their local area, or fundamentally misunderstands how effectively local government works within a nuclear system, or perhaps worse, they do see what managing to deliver, but they're so ideologically linked that they don't care that it's working. Because right here in Lichfield, and to a extent Staffordshire, we're not a cash-sink big metropolitan authority like Birmingham or Stoke. We're not an artificially large unitary authority, crippled by competing interests or rush governance structures. We are a successful district council delivering locally, generating 2/3 of our income locally, and delivering returns that are within this medium-term financial strategy, being reinvested in the local area. I accept, Chair, that much of this is another argument for another place. District councils, of course, have no say in our future fate. But if the county council will do what we so locally and support, I'm happy to do so. Chair, I'm not here to bash President. I'm here to present the budget and members who across this council have worked with. And which I believe, according to the spirit of collegiality we spoke about at the very start of this council, and one I hope can command support from across the chamber. In late December of last year, we received the local government finance settlement. It is a single year settlement. The members who are as old and cynical as me when it comes to local government finance will know that this is not new. This is, I believe, the 10th consecutive single year settlement. And while a multi-year settlement has been promised, it hasn't arrived yet. And so we continue to work with what we get. Much like the settlement from last year, in fact, the official budget, this settlement is built around the notion of core spending power. And this year it tries to create a standstill position where our core spending power is increased by 0.1%. It's unchanged. Unfortunately, Whitehall seems to achieve this will be putting council tax up by the maximum permissible amount. Now, this is probably another broad brushing blunt force policy I should perhaps not be surprised, but it's something of a needle that I am expected to place the maximum amount of pressure on local taxpayers if it's that bill. Then the scrutiny might recall when I reported progress presented at Swindon in autumn, that the pressure placed on this authority both by inflation and by that budget, that the projected £1.8 million over the 4 years of the NTFS. With inflation remaining stubbornly high, I'm afraid it's only going to increase. However, Chair, as providers of statutory services, we have been reassured of some relief from the employer's national insurance increase, which places a budgetary pressure of £308,000 on this authority. So, not a small increase, which was dropped on us within the morning. Details were
were initially sparse, and our concerns grew slowly along the guides which chose to report scrutiny and nebulous whether that's frankly being known. And eventually the sum was arrived at and budgeted for. Two-thirds of that budget pressure. I'm afraid the actual confirmed sum covers 1/3 of the actual impact. It's half of what was initially promised and will place strain on this authority's budget beyond what we are committed to raise. This was nothing but a shock. Certainly not the fair dealing that we believe we're entitled to expect from federal government. While I'm dealing with context, I also need to look at a couple of other consequences of that budget that will affect us here in Lichfield. A product of previous government policies, and that generally is that we now raise the substantial majority of our income locally, rather than by government grants. And given that a significant proportion of this is raised by a non-domestic rate, that is business rate, we are dependent on healthy business. The increases in employers' national insurance rates and the national living wage place pressure on every business, including ourselves. So too, the extraordinarily high utility pricing has driven much of the inflationary pressure. The chair, here at Lichfield District, we also have a large number of retail and hospitality businesses who have the benefit of a 75% reduction in their business rates to encourage the recovery of time. At a stroke, chair, that would reduce in the autumn budget to a 40% reduction, which actually translates to a 140% increase in those business rates. We have already seen this having an impact across the district, with the failure rate increasing and with some very public closures of much loved businesses, caused in part by this hostile environment. Chair, our own security is threatened by the incorporate, because businesses closing reduces income from non-domestic rates, causes void rates in properties and result in trauma residents. Until recently, the Lichfield Centre had the highest occupancy rate in the county. A number of business rates that business owners like to own to reported being a significant. This council will continue to do our best. The chair, that is the content of how this MTFS is being prepared, and this is the hostile environment in which councils across the land are setting their budgets at this time. Having spent some time taking context, I don't know what this MTFS does. I said at the outset of the university process, priority now has to be planning and saving to actually delivering on projects. And so that's exactly what we're doing. We're drawing down the funding to deliver on the new learning centre in Lichfield, which is already, I'm told, above ground level. We are continuing our commitments to bring the various Cinehealth retail and public ground projects to Vegas Lane and Birmingham Road. We are unlocking the capital tied up in the Birmingham Road land to invest in other areas of the district. We are continuing our schemes of relief for those in financial distress to protect the most vulnerable in society. We are continuing to operate our sector-leading disabled facilities grant scheme, which is successfully run by our wholly owned company. We have delivered £2.6 million worth of growth above the baseline in this year alone, and we are continuing to apply expectations from the central government that will simply max out local taxation of people to do this. And we're doing all of that for less than £200 a year for a balancing household. But Chair, I have to raise a very real note of caution. We are delivering all of these things on a very tight headcount. We are delivering this through the goodwill and the extraordinary efforts of our fantastic. We have cut and pared and trimmed and filleted and slimmed down this authority, and this MTFS is just about within our means because of that growth generated locally in the last year. I would merely urge care. We are thinking about proposing uncosted further spend. Chair, I will turn also to the collegiality of the proposal before you. I said throughout the preparation of the last year's MTFS that I hoped to deliver a budget that we could all work for, because I believe that we do work better when we work together. Last year, I was that we could not all vote for the MTFS. Particularly because during the debate itself, I had no real points of difference, say, from one member saying he couldn't vote for it. I said that this year with exactly the same reason. There are elements of the MTFS which would not be there without suggestions from colleagues across the country. One of such is the expansion of the housing scheme, which affect the interest of privately rented tenants. where issues identified by my neighbour colleagues and graphically. A particular highlight for me is the agreement to ask the issue of West Midlands Trade Services to look at investing in focus of social grant, an area that this side of the chamber has historically shied away from, but whose delivery has clearly been failing across. Council quality improves when we work together. We have made significant efforts to make this an MCFS that we all built. I referred earlier to the £2.6 million of growth generators that were announced to be invested in the local area. There was a meeting of leaders and finance leads of all three major parties on the 5th of February, which I thought was very productive. After initially realising that we spent £6 million, there are two available. Those proposals were assessed, reconfigured and negotiated by members of all parties. I thought we left the meeting with a broad consensus of what was agreed. And what we were still overspent is been subject to further revisions. A balanced budget, a right out together. The Chair, I must confess, it's a minor point that there are further proposed amendments before. But I do look forward to hearing their justification because I genuinely don't believe there is no one between us after all. I also note that the scope of those amendments to our notice is limited to how no project is dealt with, specified in paragraph 3.46. So I would at least thank opposition members for managing to agree almost all of the points in the original. Chair, in particular, I am grateful for the indication that the proposed council tax resolution was agreed. But that would mean that we would be able to participate tonight and not adjourn the meeting. I remind members that our share of total council tax bill is a little under 10%. County Council and the Police Fire and Crime Commission have taken over. The comments from Litchfield Live do those still paying rather more than 197 a year, until I got my maths wrong. I'm afraid we are a small part of the total bill. What I would suggest that on our side, we are punching well above our weight, and we are bucking the trend of local authorities struggling. Litchfield is right, but if we are to continue to do so, we have to set ourselves accordingly. And we have them in the headwind of that budget and with inflation, I regrettably have to seek an increase of our share of council tax of £5 a year for a vanity household. I have always maintained that I seek the minimum possible amount via this regressive tax, and I stand by that this evening. I have really finished yet, and I know whether Bill wants to speak. I would simply say this in closing. This is being prepared for the people of the district, with their elected representatives trying, and I believe in the main succeeding, to set aside our differences and to work together. Our residents don't necessarily care whether a proposal here is a Conservative, a Labour or even a Liberal Democrat. I don't think they care whether Councillor Hall proposed social housing element or whether Councillor Smith has become the latest convert. I think the residents of this district would prefer us to avoid our political form and striving for common interests and get on with doing what we do best, making this district a better place for us all to live, funding our leisure centres, connecting the bins, supporting those who need supporting, and fixing problem. And so, Chair, this is a balanced budget. It's a strong budget and one that reflects the sentiment across this council and the NTFS.
Okay, well, I really am following what speech. Absolute pleasure to second this proposal. And firstly, Chair, take testament to the plan members of that are reviewing in working vision put it together. No overall control brings challenges. I think we've seen that over the last almost 2 years. Certainly the budget has really brought the challenges. But I also think actually also that the work that was externally acceptable and understandable opinion and it was policy and it was ambition where we're able to share the differences in the manner and respect and it no doubt the strategy has benefits other models. This has been going against a backdrop chair bench challenging national environment and local environment. The budget was before us this evening is not a budget that seeks to take a maximum of that, but it's a budget that seeks to plan for what we need and services which deliver for our residents. We have not just been asking for increases in council tax, but we have been at proper levels. So the US council tax programme, we stripped out £1.7 billion every single year. Our budget does quite phenomenally achieve, when we think that actually we're delivering more now than we were 5 to 6 years ago. We've also obviously increased the revenue that we take from this building. Brilliant underlining it here at Frog Lane is now paying for itself with business generating over revenue. And of course, we are doing all we can across the district to use our ability. So this budget is based on measuring and stacking our ambitions to deliver our policies for our residents against the budget. We did that brilliantly, spectacularly, and in a way which is mindful of our clients.
Thanks, Chair. I'd like to move an amendment to the budget. See the Labour Green on page 199 of. I don't agree with the comments that Councillor Stratton made about the new government. So I also don't agree that he's also been equally stable in the previous Conservative government. He spent quite a lot of his time talking about the impacts of Labour policy. And while he was mentioned some of his concerns about Conservative government policy in the past, he certainly didn't go to the sort of length that he did in his speech. And considering that Labour had been in government for 7 months compared to the previous 14 years, and that the Labour government is now facing a £22 billion black hole in I think it's a big bridge for him to make those choices, but I'll put that to one side. I think Councillor Stratton, the officers, the leader, all the work that has gone on in the background, and I think this has been a really good example of that collegiate work he said we try to focus on in the overall control council. We said right from the outset that we focus on the best outcomes for the residents at the centre, and that's certainly been the case. I was fascinated to hear Councillor Stratton had to be raising the Labour government's policies to say that Lichfield City is a thriving city. And that's good news, and I would certainly agree with that. You can't have it both ways. I have to thank the leadership for incorporating, as Councillor Stratton said, into the exemption. There's some of the proposals that have been put forward previously. The £2 million, for example, on social housing, I think is very well. And a massive change from the previous councils in the chamber. And that extra capacity for officers to address the sorts of concerns that many of our residents come to us at their local council. I think that's really important. There were other areas, and it's only a relatively minor area of the whole enterprise where we disagreed. We tried to come to a consensus, we weren't able to, and so we put forward our alternative. And I will go through it line by line so that Councillor Stratton understands and the rest of the council understands exactly why we're putting forward our alternative. As I said, the alternative is there on page 199, and we're comparing in paragraph 3.46, which is the Conservative proposal. Taking those line by line, the changing routes at both of those centres, we both agreed on that, both groups agreed on that, and that's going to be very welcome, especially as that will create, I hope, better income for Burnford Leisure Centre, which will be a positive for all of our council taxpayers. So we kept that staying. The second line then, moving road infrastructure, we decided to reduce the amount suggested by the administration from 396,000 to 150,000, And that's simply because, as Councillor Stratton said, there will be further opportunities coming forward as more plots on the Birmingham roadside and are developed. And there's also going to be at the bottom of the chart, it's really important in a while. The third line, we put in the co-op store. I wasn't quite sure about this, but in discussion I found out that it's the co-op travel store. There's a slight reduction that we put forward there, but I absolutely acknowledge that that will open up that site for further development, and therefore include other development opportunities. I suppose the most contentious line is there on climate change. Looking at climate change was included the growth at 1930. We've suggested a relatively modest amount because we've got to make this budget alternative budget balance. 225,000 over a 3-year period. We've not only got responsibilities within this council and to our residents, we've got responsibilities for about the funds. And while this is a relatively small amount, it shows a commitment by this council, if adopted, to that kind of commitment that the previous council made, which this council wants to continue. Next slide, localities. There was no line in the Conservative proposal there on page paragraph 3.46 to invest in some of the suggestions and opportunities that have been put forward from members. The leader, quite rightly in my view, wants to see money evolve to our local community. We looked at various ways that might happen, and then it brought back and the idea that each ward in this council area has at least one member. And so discussions have been ongoing. I suppose the chief executive, chief operating officer, and I found that on our particular ward meeting, I found it very helpful, and I'm sure members are putting forward suggestions to what they want in their ward. But there's no budget. I believe the total at the moment arising from those boards, five discussions is something like 800,000. And of course, what we're proposing at 225,000 is nowhere near that. But it's completely inconsistent to say we want local funding, locality funding, to set up a system whereby board members put forward their suggestions and spend time with the chief executive and the chief operating officer. If there's no money to do anything, I think it's absolutely, it's intellectually unsustainable. So that's why we put that money there. And certainly, although it doesn't meet all of the wishes and desires of board members, we go some way towards that. The sixth line talks about access to public buildings, and this was really very keen from the Labour side. We want to ensure full and proper access to all the district council buildings. Some of those access issues have been exposed over the period with wheelchair users, with people with sensory impairments. And that, again, relatively modest budget of 50,000 pounds will enable this council to fulfil its duties of inequalities and living disability. Next slide, 7, localised transport initiative. You'll notice that we've reduced that amount there from 525,000 to 450,000. Not a huge amount as far as the reduction is concerned, but again, in order to make sure that the budget balances, we balance the competing priorities that we set out. We've currently got an on-demand transport project going where the UK shared prosperity fund money has been thrown at an idea to get local community transport. And I'm told that it's very popular. I'm also told it's very expensive. But there's no point in having that sort of token gesture of community transport. That's the continuation funding to hopefully explore the possibilities of better value in transport initiatives. I'm grateful that we accepted our rationale on that, because it was very conservative proposals, different courses, but we think it needs to be slightly new. That was one of our labour proposals. I think they're very much about the next 5 years, the skills programme, but again, the discussion about a lot more energy. And it's not just a simple set of activities for girls to take part in. There's lots more reason behind that. She won't go into it now. Perhaps all of us need to look into that for skills programme, which I think is a very excellent outcome. Partly if we reduce that budget, partly because there are plans going ahead to set up friends of groups to parks. And once friends of groups are set up, then they can apply for external funding. And so it doesn't need that local funding that has been provided in the certain region. A little bit of imagination with its own that, so we might need to be a bit more creative about funding parks. And we also put an allocation for the initiatives. And a lot of those suggestions are about improvements in parks. The Greenway, I very much is an issue close to my heart. But we refuse the amount that we see there. Even though, you know, I've got concerns about it, I did think it would be as well to reduce that to an extent. There are no clear costing. Because they don't have steam for reduction, actually, really, in a sense, we don't know whether it's going to be 250,000 or whether it's going to be $1 million. You know, it's difficult in the sense that that would be looked at as more than welcome free. So we've been told that this is a living document. So these aren't set in stone, but at least in place of the we set out. And I'll just mention at the bottom the earmarked reserve of 760,000. Slightly lower than the 8,000 we proposed in the conservative list there, and that would allow some. It's great that we've got this 2.111 billion growth. It's great that we've got the opportunity to spend that money on additional services. This sort of thing. That's just right. That's looking at we're in a rare position for local people. Many local bodies going. I do congratulate everyone concerned, officers and members on building that fund so we can improve services for our residents. Just on the point of council tax, Labour is happy to support the proposal of a 2.59% £5 increase. We also agree that we shouldn't take an option, that it's a very impressive tax and keeps those with more modest means for those who are more able to pay. I move the amendment, Chair, and I'm sure for the answer.
I'm very happy to second the amendment, Chair, and reserve my right to speak at the end of the day. Thank you. It's an interesting budget discussion, but this is happened before where Mitchell District Council. We've started a little bit different, but certainly it's never happened here. And when we had that shock, or the then Conservative councils had the shock of seeing the Labour council in 1995, that was a big deal. There was a big changes that we made. For example, the housing stuff, I couldn't believe when we were a little authority how bad it was. So we did have to ballot for the tenant tax to go for a housing association that was funded each one we did it. We get these differences, and every year we've had a different, and then we go to the motion top. I noticed a religiosity, as it were, has been mentioned 4 times so far, and it's true. I mean, we are trying to work. We would like to work together, but we don't have the reality. I mean, it's after been around the 80s, also to Mrs. Thatcher, to actually have nice things towards any Conservative, actually to support the Conservative government. On those circumstances will never be forgotten or forgiven, to be quite honest with you. So, you know, when we go back to government and how bad they can be, I'm very happy to talk more about that. As for the alternative budget, major changes, I think they're changes that I support, they're changes for the better there. I mean, I'm not sure about agreement myself, I'm not quite so in favour of this series. In fact, hopefully you'll have the scrutiny to look at in a bit more detail. But I was a bit surprised that we had these board meetings with the chief executive, and he found out there's no budget. Now, I could be cynical, but knowing the individual, I'm not perfectly cynical, it's at least an oversight. To have these discussions that have no budget, I mean, I don't want to waste my time doing that. So I think that's the reason for that in the alternative budget. And the other thing, external funding for the parks, I think that's a good idea. I think we can get external funding. I mean, the parks have got external funding, I'm not sure. The heritage, things still be interested in our part of the parks, but nevertheless, the opportunities are really in the future for that. So those reasons, I am supporting the alternative budget, and yeah, I'd like to hear the other side of that. Okay.
Thank you, Chair. I think everyone will join me in congratulating everyone who's worked on this. And coming to something where we are talking about just one page on the whole of this wonderful document. I wish to support the alternative amendment, but I'd like to speak to one particular item, which is the reparative. Because I think that many of us as ward councillors feel frustrated that there is no way for us to put our ward's interest where it matters. With regards to clear route, the solution needs to be. And importantly, as Councillor Norman has just pointed out, there is now some money to make these needs realised. So for this and for the other amendments, such as climate change, I'm very happy to support.
I'd like to applaud the council. It has managed to access, provide better access to the big building and support the needs for staff members of the councillors. I think my appearance on the council raised the and my apologies for that. I think that can be a good thing. And it's good to make this really good thing. We do have a responsibility to do that under the Disability Discrimination Act, and it's great to see that starting.
Thank you. Yes, I'd like to support the amendments, and I think it is a sign of positiveness that this council is collaborating across the various parts, across the various members in the council. Councillor, myself and Councillor Trent have been involved in the negotiations and discussions, and that sense of collaboration has been evident throughout. And so as a group, we're pleased to have worked with the Labour members, work with the Conservative members to bring these budget changes forward for the good of our community. And that is the key point. And also, there are priorities in here which are coming forward, which are important to us as Liberal Democrats. Find a budget which we can bring through some specific projects to have a positive impact on climate change in our as a council. Housing, as been mentioned, is obviously a key part of this, and it's interventions to see what we can do as a council to improve the stock of social housing in our community. And then transport, something that we believe strongly is a priority in our area is the bus network, which we will touch on. This is a district that isn't connected by rail. People need to move around it. A lot of people move around, reliant on buses, and the bus service just does not work connecting the rural parts of our community to our city and to Burnwood, or between our two centres, or even between our centres. So that is very important. So I think this is a positive result, this amendment. I would urge all members to support it because and also because it demonstrates that working together, we can make a positive difference for our community. Thank you.
Thank you. In 2019, Lichfield District Council issued a planning legislation. For a while, it was leading the country in biodiversity actions. Unfortunately, since then, we've spent nowhere near enough on practical steps to reduce our own impact and to influence and help the district's residents and businesses to reduce ours. On the website, Council Climate Scorecards.uk, we rank in the bottom third of councils for the actions that we are currently taking. But this week's and others, I support the amendment. That said, in the absence of our self-professed resident heretic, I feel obliged to execute something along the lines of who know less of that sort of thing. Thank you.
Absolutely.
Can I give one chance to let them know that?
Yes.
Yeah.
Thank you very much, Councillor Stracker. That's very well responded. And please, I just wanted to comment on the fact that I'm looking at both of these point by point. There are quite a lot of similarities in there. It is just the priority on the finances of the body that I use them. However, I did want to comment specifically on the localised transport, and I would take exception with some of the comments that we made and will be heard from the other side. As County Councillor, being able to look at public transport on a number of occasions with a number of other councillors in the train. And then as a district councillor and cabinet member, we had an opportunity through the UK Shared Prosperity Fund to be able to show as a district council with Wikipedia what the residents are requiring, and had an opportunity to be able to show some support in that of what the county council also does as well. So rather than throwing money at it, the UK Shared Prosperity Fund has a time sensitive response, and what I would like to do is I certainly tribute to the staff who pulled out of the spot, literally, no pun intended, to be able to get an on-demand service available in the time frame that they did, to hopefully show that there is a viable service that wouldn't rely on subsidies in the future. And we also appreciate this is 6 months trial that's currently underway, but certainly for the effort that the officers did to be able to put that service into play in the time frame that they did on command.
Thank you. I'll say it briefly. In terms of comment made on the local discussion, I really want not to like, you know, the policy and the investigate active policies and now. As I say, on the issues of central government, I was only commenting on the effects of active policy hitting us now. You might remember all about my own government, I used the last 5 years. Given the last government nearly completely redundant, we're going to make a state exist. And there's arguably a bigger one. But I dealt with it slightly more briefly on things earlier. On the issue of Birmingham Road infrastructure, that budgetary line of the original budget was to unlock elements of that land to assist us in its realisation of the disposal. However, the reduction in the scale proposed in the amendment on the issues of climate change, members might remember that I previously commissioned £100,000 to earmark climate change as an authority to dispose of that, because we didn't at the time have a well formulated plan for that. Trying to be opportunity there. I've always said and repeat that the budget would be identified as a proposal going forward. So while we have a number of responsibilities on here tonight, I can't commit to them on how well advanced they are. That is still the case. However,
This is capital funding, and we are likely to have projects ready to go with identified costings. Could allocate this funding and start to get the action underway and the table all us to work to do. And so this will avoid creating a long reserve platform. This creates funding that we can use now. On localities, the original ambition was to meet anything raised in those pre-existing projects. However, yeah, it is likely that there are elements identified already which are funding. So we are not by this creating another lot of this is funding. Like I said, voice capital, it is early days, and as more and more people become aware of it and see how good it is actually this, that will reduce the spend for that. But yet it is incredibly expensive to deliver. And so for us to pick that up in the future, I hope to see that we'll promote it and help to make it. I would finally comment that the proposed reduction of the earmark reserve on the bottom line are more than profit, and therefore survival. For those reasons, Chair, the Conservative Group will be supporting the amendment. And we encourage my group to vote for the amendment.
Thank you.
What the regulations are. I'm seconding the motion, I reserve my right to speak. And I'd like to do that. I think they won't be that high, but I'll be guided by you and the
Well, it's critical fully clarify whether you're accepting the amendment.
Well, I think we're currently debating the amendment market.
Yeah.
Councillor Stratton indicated. Which way do we go? I think this is still debating about it.
Just I have no heretic to climate change. What I do believe is that funding should be available to schemes that actually are going to where we are currently suffering from the effects of climate change. So it's not just about constant slow versus down, I agree, but I also think we've got to be looking at any scheme that may come forward that actually is currently pacified. That's what it affects and residents. What do we do with the effects of, and that's today, and then obviously accommodation. So I look for assurances that we are looking at schemes that would go into that.
Maybe you don't have that, sorry. That's good law, that's it. Right. That's it. I thought you'd spoken. No, sorry. You'll do the Karen guys.
It's really budget policy. Two items that are climate change. I think it's entirely untrue to say locality funding is so central for work with an organisation that it should be averaged, it should be centred around our locality and shouldn't be a separate budget. I think a really important point. And Litchfield District Council has shown, certainly over the last 5 years, that we can do more with less. If you look at any Labour run authority, they'll show you how they do less with more. Well, I think that we see that around us, and actually, it shouldn't need an entire budget. The point was made about funding imagination, we can improve parks without giving extra funding, or perhaps with that doesn't exactly use a little bit of imagination, that would have told us that we could have funded that park through using other organisations, or perhaps I would generally say that perhaps the Labour group could use their imagination and learn how to do that locality without creating a separate budget. In terms of climate change, and one of our proposals and yet there is a generic and very sweet statement on climate change. Yes, this council did in 2019, Councillor Taylor, you were something that you were and absolutely, I think it stood by absolutely focus, particularly around as the possible things that are affecting them today. How do we improve biodiversity? How do we create net zero? How do we work with the reality of the market and development? But actually, how do we make a difference to our community today about improving our environment? That is something we've done again and again and again. And I don't know a particular report being about that. What I do know is that there are all sorts of organisations that are attempting to name and shame authorities, both Labour and Conservative, and even the big Democrat around the country, naming and shaming them based off some obscure metrics and seeking to demonstrate the lower qualified, etc. I think quite likely to go another national leaders, particularly the correct. Chair, despite those points, I would say, well, and I would say that we have an absolute battle behind closed doors and the advance of the budget that we didn't quite get there. I think that's just a reality of it. I subject to some caveat, I don't have any huge level reaction to any of the proposals forward by the lady. And I think that overall, I think that for us to make a point, actually we're arguing over a very, very, very narrow subset of the budget, not over well, and therefore I would entirely think over the strategy. Yes, certainly doing this. Thank you.
Thank you. I found that this council should have the localities essential, and we shouldn't need an extra line in. I was really disappointed that my comments of last year weren't remembered by council Stratton, right? All your budget, because I couldn't find everything in the out because of the lack of funding that was coming their way. And it's really disappointing that we can't afford to have this put in. It should be at the centre. Some of the things we put in here is because it hasn't been. We need to make sure that what you have, that it is central to the council. And that's
Thank you, Chair. 5 minutes ago, I was thinking that I had nothing to say. But now Councillor Cullen has given me lots to say. Thank you. I welcome the Conservative group's change of heart in supporting these Labour proposals. But this collegiate working, perhaps Councillor Cullen forgets that when we had that meeting on Wednesday evening here and we came up with some proposals, some counter proposals, we went away to reshape them. We did reshape them and took some of our proposals out and then resubmitted them in a reduced form. Councillor Cullen's reaction to that in other council groups was to reject all of our proposals and keep all his proposals. So, you know, so much for this working that we got. Last year, we were quite modest in our requests. We asked for two sums of £100,000 for work in Parkwood to develop master plan and for heritage programme. I think we got £75,000 each of those crumbs on the table at that time. How much work has gone into making those things happen? Zilch. zero, none, nada. So, again, is that an example of collegiate working? If we come up with sound proposals for action and nothing happens from the Conservative side, I am really pleased that after 7 years of campaigning, we are now getting £2 million of social rent and housing coming through in the future. That's a great movement forward that would not happen without us being an overall council and Labour proposals coming forward. Has the Labour government not given our housing team additional money to employ more people to work on homelessness, to prevent homelessness? We wouldn't be able to increase our housing team as again suggested by the Labour group, which we are doing. And also, we will now, because of Labour group proposals, be looking at the dire state of private rental housing in this district and tackling those with additional resources again through this budget. And now, thanks to them agreeing to our proposals, in spite of them having at least one or two climate change scenarios on their side, we will have real action on climate change, real action on localities working, and real action on other issues on disabled access to buildings. And I commend the amendment and hope that we unanimously approve. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. Right, so we're breaking the position. Like last time, confirm if they are for, against, or abstain when I call out the names. So, Councillor Anketel. For. Thank you. Councillor Ashton. For the amendment. Sorry, this is all for the amendment. Councillor Law. Councillor Benedict. Councillor Lennon. For. Councillor Booker. For. Councillor Braga. For. Councillor Chaplin. For. Councillor Coe. For. Councillor Cox. For. Councillor Cross. For. Councillor D. Ennis. For. Councillor L. Ennis. For. Councillor Evans. For. Councillor Farrell. For. Councillor Galvin. For. Councillor Harvey Coggins. For. Councillor Henshaw. For. Councillor Hill. For. Councillor Hove. I vote for. Councillor Holland. For. Councillor Hughes. For. Councillor Young. Councillor Mears. For. Councillor Norman. For. Councillor Powell. For. Councillor Pullen. For. Councillor Ray. For. Councillor Rushton. My eyesight is awful, I apologise. Councillor Sylvester Hall. For. Councillor A. Smith. For. Councillor J. Smith. Councillor Strachan. For. Councillor P. Taylor. For. Councillor S. Taylor. For. Councillor Trent. For. Councillor Vernon. For. Councillor Warfield. For. Councillor S. Wilcox. And Councillor Woodward. Very much.
Amendment in the so that becomes the vote, that bit is page 199. Becomes the vote.
Yes.
So do we now vote? We now vote again on the motion. So we rename there. So the name, yes, this is the motion as amended and formal council.
Thank you, Chair. Can you good? For the record, if I could ask you to confirm if you are for, against, or abstain again, please. Councillor Anketel. Councillor Ashton. For. Councillor Moore. For. Councillor Benedict. Councillor Bennion. For. Councillor Booker. Councillor Braga. For. Councillor Chaplin. Councillor Coe. Councillor Cox. For. Councillor Cross. For. Councillor G. Ennis. For. Councillor L. Ennis. For. Councillor Evans. 4. Councillor Farrell. 4. Councillor Galvin. 4. Councillor Harvey-Cogging. 4. Councillor Henshaw, I can't read the text. Councillor Henshaw, 4. Thank you. Councillor Hill. 4. Councillor Hove. I vote 4. Councillor Holland. 4. Councillor Hughes. 4. Councillor Young. 4. Councillor Mears. 4. Councillor Norman. 4. Councillor Powell. 4. Councillor Bullen. 4. Councillor Ray. 4. Councillor Rushton. 4. Councillor Sylvester Hall. 4. Councillor A. Smith. 4. Councillor Jason is not here. Councillor Strachan. 4. Councillor P. Taylor. 4. Councillor S. Taylor. 4. Councillor Trent. 4. Councillor Vernon. 4. Councillor Warfield. 4. Councillor S. Wilcox. And Councillor Woodward. Thank you very much. Yeah.
Thank you very much. So that concludes regard 12.
I think one board is to check whether if any of the negotiators have read the art of the deal, whether they should be there.
So we'll move on to agenda item the pay policy statement. Remove the act with our updated pay policy statement.
This is our amended or sorry, updated pay policy statement that we actually have in front of the page.
Thank you. You may have a second. The Cox.
It's a second.
Thank you. I think it's been through the employment committee, so I think there's no debate. So all those in favour. Thank you very much. We now come to item B. Only 2 questions submitted by members of the meeting. The first one is that's a whole, sorry. You response and you request
We have a supplementary request and question. I think that's where I came to this for several of them. And I suppose it's personal knowledge that the past 18 months or so, I've been quietly promoting a plan to introduce the digital signage network for the purpose of informing residents of events and council meetings. This has received expressions of support from other councillors, including cabinet members and from officers, as well as from Lichfield City Council and municipality. However, since it was decided that the infrastructure necessary to implement this would be shared with BEO, this project is also stalled on and no further information is coming about. But I find this more frustrating than our rejection. So, could Councillor Sylvester Hall please take steps to have informed on any progress or the lack of it on this list?
Thank you, Councillor Ashton, as well for the supplementary there. As you've seen in the response, that regrettably the BEN meetings that have been programmed for the latter end of last year had to be postponed. I'm pleased to say that they're taking place now on the Thursday as the next one. And Councillor Ashton is of course welcome to those, saying that we've extended the invitation to a number of different council cities and representatives as well as the Visitor Economy Network locally, so that we now have over 50 members taking part in that. Councillor Ashton has been one of those consistently, and we want to make sure that that's continuing, and of course we'll continue on make our separate negotiations that we have done.
And then the second one is from Councillor Ball, or we have a something?
I do chair, thank you for the answer, Councillor Hall. I know that we'll be working to encourage behaviour change wherever possible with city centre users. In the context of that, we do consider measures such as limiting delivery times, splitting the over 850 passes already given out into 2 areas, one for Kirk Street, Market Street, and one for McDonald Street, 4th Street, and making 4th Street a two-way cul-de-sac.
Thank you very much. Thanks for the board as well. I think you'll also probably be aware that the collegiality has extended far and wide the pedestrianisation in setting when it comes down to the installation of bollards for the centre. Each of those have been considered since the duration that I've been involved in this particular project, and they still remain on the table very much when we look at considering what the future phases are with regards to pedestrianisation. So they already are, and I guess that they will continue to be so as well. But as always, welcoming all of the ideas from the effect of the possible staff for the pedestrianisation scheme and certainly the possible converting everything so far. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thanks everybody. I think. We've now come to the end, so that brings our live broadcast to the end. And then I'd like to take this opportunity to thank everyone for joining us this evening. I'd like to thank all